point of no return. We said some things that cut like a knife, but I won't let you walk out my life. Our love was blessed from above. Baby, don't throw our love away. It should grow and grow every day. Yeah, don't throw our love away today, 'cause our love is here to stay. It wasn't right, it doesn't matter who's wrong or right. What can I do to make you see that you're the one for me? It wasn't right, it doesn't matter who's wrong or right. What can I do to make you see that you're the one? After all these years, we cried so many tears and fears. Yeah, joy and sorrow. What tomorrow? Can we both agree to be together for always? Baby, don't throw our love away. It should grow and grow every day. Don't throw our love away today, 'cause our love is here to stay. You We met by chance, under good circumstance, then had a romance that felt so good. When I looked in your eyes, I began to cry. I got down on my knees and asked the Lord, please tell me, can we be together, baby?
Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are across the globe. Welcome to On the Sofa with yours truly, Esther Austin. Well, today I've been talking to the most incredible people, and today I am talking to Ashley Scott. Ashley Scott, who is known as an international recording artist. And if you're not known as that, Ashley, you can put me right.
No, that's it. Thank you.
Welcome to the show. It's a real pleasure. I know we've been trying to connect for quite a while, but I have been inundated, which is a good thing. But we are
That is
here
a good
now.
thing.
Absolutely. So, Ashley, I usually like to ask my guests, here we go, who is Ashley Scott in a nutshell, in a peanut shell, or a crab shell?
Wow. And I've seen so many interviews and I've tried to prepare for this question today, and I only had a few minutes to do it, and I wasn't that successful. So we're going to try to get through this one. I guess I would be. Wait, you said crab shell, nutshell, and
And a peanut shell.
peanut shell.
Mm.
That one stumped me. This is the first question too.
It's funny because someone actually did that to me and it stumped me, so I know how hard it is. So
Yeah.
being pretty fair. But I guess if I put it in another way, Ashley, who is the essence of Ashley? What does Ashley like to do?
Ashley is a creative person, always thinking of the next thing, always I'm a dreamer. I love family. I'm definitely historical in some senses. I love history and studying my family history and looking things up. Ancestry and 23andMe have become my most frequent apps on my phone that I'm always on. Other than, creating and writing music. Always learning things about the business because it's ever changing at this point.
Yeah.
Always studying and just trying to stay current and be, ahead of the game, but also trying to, stay ahead of life as well.
That's interesting. Stay ahead of life. And how do you have fun, Ashley? In the midst of all of that, what are your avenues of having fun?
My avenues of having fun are going to live concerts, just being at home with a big bowl of popcorn and watching wrestling on TV, which has
Uh-huh.
always been my thing since I was a kid. I've always been a huge wrestling fan. So that's when I do it. That's, when I'm not doing music.
Okay, okay. So what we're gonna do, Nashly, I'm gonna take you back. We're gonna go back,
All the way back.
all the way back, um, as far as we can go. You started your love of music really started around the age of 3, and I believe that's when um you started singing at the age of 3. When I've sort of checked out your bio. Um, can you? But do you remember the earliest time when you started singing and even performing? I would say.
Well, the earliest time I started singing and really found that love of music was at the age of 3. My parents had a great record collection with Stevie Wonder and Chicago and Earth, Wind and Fire.
Chicago.
And also, and those were my dad's favorite albums. He was always playing the Chicago Transit Authority album. He was
Mm,
always playing Songs in the Key of Life. And from what I remember, After the Love Is Gone is one of my all-time favorite songs ever since I
mm.
was that age. Um, and also my dad's sister is a singer as well. You've interviewed her on your sofa.
Okay.
And she was probably my biggest inspiration for singing. My aunt is Helen Scott of the Three Degrees.
Ah,
And
yes.
when I was younger, when you go see family members, they always put the kids in the room to watch cartoons. Well, all of my cousins were older, so I couldn't go outside and hang with them. So I would have to sit in the room and watch cartoons while the adults wouldn't have their catch up conversations. And I would always have her put on a video of their concert from 1979 at the Royal Albert Hall, which was a
Mm,
TV special. And I used to just watch that tape over and over again and study the music and look at the orchestra and look at their choreography and listen to their harmonies. And they were definitely still are a class act. And
yes,
because they'll be celebrating 60 years next year.
yes, yes, I
Um,
know. That's a major achievement,
yeah,
especially for an all girl, all woman band. It's a major, major achievement. And you did say that your aunt was something that greatly inspired you, and she still inspires you now. Can you just elaborate a bit more about that inspiration? Because I believe it's not just about the music of your aunt, but also how she carried herself. We talk about elegance and eloquence and we talk about music, but also the humility with which
yeah.
people carry themselves, which is a valuable attribute. So I'm not going to get too technical or too deep because I go there sometimes. So I'm going to.
That's okay. It's okay. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, she definitely still to this day inspires me. We have conversations. I used to actually get on her nerves. I'm gonna just be honest because I was so um enthralled about what she did that I just had so many questions. And there were times that as a kid where she said, I'm your aunt. I'm just not an entertainer. So, you know,
Yes.
I had to kind of slow me down a little bit. But I was just trying to soak up as much information as possible and her stories and things of that nature. And even till this day, I had a show yesterday. We were just talking about things that, happened with my show. And she's saying, well, here, you should do this, always do this and always do that. And I'm just trying to soak up as much information as possible. But they really are a class act. They know how to walk and talk, to the public and on stage and just their professionalism. That's
Mhm.
one thing that I learned from them as well. So always be, you know, cordial, nice, and professional in this industry, and it'll take you a long way.
Mm, brilliant, brilliant. So now we're going to focus a little more on Ashley Scott, the international recording artist. Like you said, your love of music stemmed from when you from the age of 3, and you were surrounded by greatness and by um, people who you looked up to. Now, other than your aunt, who were some of the other greats who inspired you, Ashley?
Wow. So my mother grew up on the same block as the Delphonics. And so I kind of credit William Hart, Randy Kane, and Wilbert Hart, and
Mm,
also Major Harris because he was a member of the group as well as the extended uncles. They pretty much rehearsed, in my grandparents' basement and
wow.
they were just very much, extended family that is not blood. So
Mm,
I definitely credit that both groups, the Delphonics and the Three Degrees, as my biggest inspirations because both groups not only had their own hits, but they were always stylish and classy. But their their catalog of music gave me a wide palette and variety to listen to because not only were they performing their own hits, but both groups were always performing different pop and jazz standards. For instance, I love the arrangement that the Delphonics have of Alfie, of
oh,
their recording of it. It's a very beautiful recording. And the Three Degrees were always known for doing MacArthur Park, and that's just always one of my favorite numbers that they do. I mean, I wish I could have, primarily they spent most of their time in the UK. So, and I was always here in Philadelphia. So I was never able to go see them during the years that I guess when Sheila Ferguson was in the group. And I wish I could have gone to see the Magic live, but I just wasn't able to. But
mm,
seeing them do MacArthur Park was always on video now, still a magical thing. So again, both groups gave me a wide palette of music and appreciation for pop and jazz standards. And so I actually went to major in music at Howard University in Washington, D.C. So
mm,
that was another level of meeting, greats and iconic figures. So my professor, two of my professors out of the three at Howard University that did voice were two of them were recording artists and musicians and international stars.
mm.
My first professor, his name was Webster Lewis, and
Sorry, one minute. I'm just gonna. Okay.
so once I found the inspiration of both the groups being the Three Degrees and the Delphonics. Also, I would say that. Sorry, can you stop real quick? Can you
Okay.
stop? I'm sorry.
We'll start that question again.
Okay, so the I attended Howard University where I majored in music, and three of my professors were huge inspirations. Kahembe Eichelberger, she was a DC vocalist. She's done a lot of classical and jazz, but two of the other professors, they were international musicians. So one of them was Webster Lewis, who was the conductor for Barry White's Love Unlimited Orchestra,
Oh
and
wow.
he also produced 4 albums on his own. And he's pretty known in the UK. I would say nine times out of 10, when I mention his name, every personality or radio presenter definitely knows who he is. Uh,
Mm,
he's had a string of hits over there, but here stateside, he's not as remembered. And the other professor was Grady Tate, who was a vocalist and jazz drummer. Grady has recorded with everybody from Dizzy Gillespie to Nancy Wilson to Lena Horne, Frank Sinatra,
for the
Quincy Jones.
greats. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean he's known for being a drummer, but he's a vocalist as well. He's probably the most recorded jazz drummer of all time, and so Grady also instilled a lot into me, especially with the importance of knowing lyrics and knowing what you're singing about and conveying that in the song, whether it's a performance or a recording. I
Mm,
uh, I tell the story all the time, but I remember going to his studio office at Howard one day and I had to sing When I Fall in Love. And I got in there and he said, okay, let me hear it. And I sang it fine. I wasn't out of tune. He said, okay, you sound good. He said, but have you ever been in love? He said, do you know what you're singing about? He said, you got to believe this. I got to believe this a little bit. He said, now start he cursed me out on that one. So I won't say what he said, but he said, start the song again. And it was like vocal boot camp with him as
mm.
well. So you know, I also credit Grady and Webster and Kahembe. And I guess coming up in the industry, I've been blessed to be around a lot of legends. Through Webster Lewis, I met Will Downing.
Okay, yes, Will. Yeah, the
And
legend Will. Yes, he's
yeah,
he's such a popular artist, you know. He's on the lips of everybody. Um, very popular artist, and I can see why, because also he's got a very down to earth um personality as well. You can
very down to earth.
yeah, he's just so laid back. When I sometimes see him, and I know this is an interesting analogy, but you have those puppy dogs that just lie there and they look at you, and he's so cool, and
Mhm.
you can sense that. And so you working with Will, I mean you've been how have you do you perform with him? Is it a one-off or do you have an ongoing relationship in terms of that?
So backtrack to segue to that answer.
Mm,
After college, I was thrown into the business side of entertainment. So I worked at a concert venue here in Philadelphia. I produced my own events. I
mm,
worked with a few artists, and so I began, you know, I'm kind of on both sides of the coin, both the creative as an artist and
mm,
recording artist, and also on the business side as an entrepreneur. So I work with Will and his team, and so we do have an ongoing friendship, mentorship relationship. I've been working with him as his assistant for almost 10 years.
okay,
Yeah. So
excellent.
I work from home, and he's also been a huge inspiration and uh mentor to me on the creative side as well. So he actually helped me record the vocals for my first single, Words, at his studio.
Mm.
And he actually co-wrote my second single with me called Dance the Night Away, which became my first international hit. That's the one that the UK definitely gravitated to.
Mm. And interestingly, the words. Now, can you explain what that single was about? Because just words is it's on as a standalone, it's quite powerful. It says a lot,
It-
and you can unpick
yeah.
it as you see. So, what? Just give us a bit more around that particular single, Ashley.
So my first single, Words, came out in 2016. It's a ballad. It's definitely about love and being, in a relationship or marriage, no matter, depending on what the person that can identify with the lyrics is
Mm,
going. It's basically about not wanting to argue and not want to deal with, heated disagreements and coming back to the table with a level head, basically saying, okay, I don't feel comfortable talking about the matter right now because I'm not myself and I don't want to say the wrong thing.
oh
So
yeah.
the chorus is basically saying words, they're powerful, they can help, they can hurt, they can heal and hinder. And if I don't want to talk about it right now, I just won't.
Mm,
So it's one of my favorite recordings. I was very proud of the production and the personnel that I have playing and singing on the record. A lot of Philadelphia musicians. I definitely have a traditional approach to the creative process of recording, and
mm,
I try to bring in live musicians
oh,
and
yeah.
different singers. I don't want to be the one man band singing every note.
Mm,
You want to, oh, who are all those people singing? Oh, it's just me. No, not on these recordings.
mm,
So it's definitely a community effort when I create. And so I did the same with Dance the Night Away. And um, the way that story went, I shared my idea with Will. Basically, Dance the Night Away is about saluting, the special lady in your life and giving her a moment to shine and taking her out and showing her a good time because she's tired from work and being a mother and a wife and she just needed an outlet. So let's go out and dance the night away.
nice, nice. And a lot of your songs, so I've listened to quite a few. They are sort of fall under the I would say the remit of ballads. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, mid-tempo ballads. I have a couple of dance remixes as well. So I've definitely ventured into the dance realm with some of the songs. I have 8 singles, so it's 5 songs, and 3 of them have remixes.
Mm.
So 2 of them are dance. So I'm definitely proud of the production and the way that everything has kind of come out thus far.
Excellent, excellent. And I know before we came into the interview, you were talking about touring. You said that this year has been really good to you. Now, you've been touring quite a bit this year, which is fantastic. Just share a bit more about that and the places that you've been to and um what's been people's response or reaction to seeing you live.
So it's been a great experience. I went to Columbia, South Carolina, and that was one of the first stops this year in June. And that was a very significant date because that's actually where my mother was born.
Okay.
And I was able to kind of take a day to go see some family historical sites in not only that town, but also a small town called Edgefield, South Carolina, which is where my family, I guess, kind of originated from, if you will. Um, there I saw the grave plots of my third great grandmother and my second great grandfather.
Oh wow.
They found it. Um, I'm basically touring in support of my latest single, Together,
Mm.
but for certain cities, like I did Columbia, South Carolina, and I also did Washington, D.C. I have a concept show that I have called From Philly with Love, a tribute to Philly soul. And I'm basically performing my original song. So you'll hear Dance the Night Away, Don't Throw Our Love Away, Together, Thought of You,
Mm.
uh, which you'll also hear cover songs of other Philadelphia classics. So I'm trying to paint the picture of the past and the present of Philadelphia music. So you'll hear songs by, of course, the Three Degrees and the Delphonics, but the
Mm.
OGs and Music Soul Child and the Spinners and
Oh,
Stylists.
nice.
So it's a great
Nice.
show. I performed that show in Columbia, South Carolina, and Washington, D.C., and I got rave reviews. And I'm going back to the D.C. area in November.
Mm. I've listened to a lot of your music, and it's easy listening. It's there's a lot of love. I mean, I listen mostly to your ballads, and I've listened to some more the up-tempo one, but I actually prefer the ballads myself, because you can actually feel you speaking into that space within from that space. Is that making sense?
Yes, it
Um,
does.
and also just watching how a bit like Will, you've got this real sort of nice, laid back, chilledness about you as you are singing, but there's still quite a bit of emotion that you are projecting as well, or um, that you are diving into. And so
Right.
it's a nice mix. There's lots of different mixes that makes the whole. And when you're on stage, Ashley, where do you go? Where do you go? What does it do for you? Do you feel, yeah, I'm actually making it? Because sometimes it could be like I'm standing on stage and I've got my own Oscar. I've made it. So, where do you go? How do you feel when you're on stage?
It's the best feeling in the world. It's one of my favorite places to always be. When I'm not on stage, it's kind of, you're longing for that place a
Mm,
lot. So it's definitely my favorite place to be. I get creative. You know, a lot of spontaneous things come up, in terms of, like, I like to get the audience to sing along. That's definitely one thing that I learned from my aunt. You have
mm,
to have audience participation.
interaction,
If
because
you've
yes.
been to their show in the past 10 years and they perform Boogie Wonderland as a closer, she's going to get you up and moving. So I
Yes.
get the audience to sing along on a few songs as well. And I just jokingly say, we'll start the choir here at the venue. So
Excellent, excellent. Let's get the party started, isn't it?
it's always fun to be on stage. And when I just did the show in Washington D.C. at Blues Alley, that was probably one of the best nights of my life. And I say
Mm,
that because that was my first time returning to a city that's like a second home to me as an artist and performing, my own show. So to see the people in the audience, that have kind of been a part of my life from college, you
mm,
know, or family members, new family members that I just met, as well as family, other cousins. It was just an amazing experience. And I'll never forget that. That show was very special to me because when I was in college at Howard University, I used to always go to Blues Alley to see other people perform. So I
mm,
would always go see Gene Carn or the Harold Melvin's Blue Notes. And there was a musician from DC that I met, about 20 years ago. And he passed away in 2004. His name is Nathan Heathman. He actually had a CD out in the early 2000s on Expansion Records out of the UK. But he was Gene Carn's musical director. So that was the first time I had ever been to Blues Alley, and it was to see him and Gene Carn. And so to go there and perform my own show, when I got the call to say, "Hey, we want to have you do your show here," I cried like a baby because it was mixed emotions of tears of joy and gratefulness, but also wishing he was here to play for me.
Play with
So,
you.
but I know his spirit was in the room that night.
Mm, got a great story, and we're sort of winding down, but also moving forward with where Ashley Scott is going with all his creativity. Where to next? What have you got coming out? We've only got about, was it 3 months before the end of the year? My gosh.
Yes. And I was trying to record sometime this summer, but between the touring of myself and my producer, we weren't able to start recording. So I'll be working on music for the next few months to hopefully release in the new year.
Mm,
I try not to release anything past October because you kind of run into the Christmas music, and
mm,
that's not something I want to compete with.
mm.
So, because they start Christmas music, it used to be, right after Thanksgiving, but they started before Halloween now at this point.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. They're starting it now. They've got the adverts out, the Christmas adverts. I'm like, really? It's just the beginning of September.
I
Um,
know.
But yeah, yeah. And sort of the last question, last, you know, if there's anybody, what is the message? Sorry, what is the message of your music? What is the intrinsic message of Ashley Scott's music?
I would say staying true to the music is my message. And that's the message of my record label, Soulful Sounds International Records, is to keep releasing music with live instrumentation as much as possible.
Mm,
As if we can, on the recordings. Um, that's the main thing. That's the traditional part of music for me. I like some new stuff, but it's nothing like, being organic with it.
old
People will,
school.
yeah, I mean, people, you want to hear a guitar, you want to hear a bass, you want to hear strings. My song Together has a full orchestra on there, live strings and horns. So that's probably my favorite record to record that I recorded. Just because that was what you hear is the actual vision of the song. I can't play piano, but I can sing and I know what I hear. So
Mm,
I went to my friend who's an instrumentalist. He plays guitar, keys, and bass fluently. I said, "Hey, look, we have to do this song." And I told him the chord progressions I wanted. I wanted a warm feel, a classic feel. I wanted something to sound like it was from Philadelphia, and that's what we came up with
Billy,
together.
Billy sounds, the
Yeah,
Billy sound. Nice, nice, nice. Well, Ashley, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'm
thank
looking forward to more of your music. And yeah, just keep moving forward. And hopefully I'll be able to come and see you perform one day, or maybe you can get over to the UK. That'd
It's
be
my everyday prayer to get over to the UK and perform. So we'll keep
fabulous.
praying every day on it, and hopefully it happens soon.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you for being on the sofa with Esther. And say hello to the aunt of yours, Helen Scott.
I
Thank you
will.
so
I
much.
will. Thank
All
you.
right, bless you.